That's gonna hit a very small audience.
One guy.
I don't care.
One guy again in Brazil or whatever it was. Yes, Alberta politics.
He's heavily invested in it.
All right, we're live.
Can you bet on elections?
Like a horse bet?
Oh wait, okay. This is Verbal Laxative. I'm Jason.
I'm Hassan.
Brian.
This is in.
Usually I'm the guest, so I win last.
Oh yeah, okay, sure. I was waiting. We're going in counterclockwise order. That's why.
But how would the audience know,
They don't know.
our
They
position?
don't know. It was just me. Only
yeah,
I knew.
whatever.
Because we
It's
were going to
fine.
tell him after we...
Only
Or
I
it's like
knew.
mahjong. It's like north, east.
Please stop. Oh man.
So it's the first time we're all here for like quite a while.
Yes.
I think this has only happened once. One recording or two?
probably like last year. It's probably.
Well, it's only happened like once or twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this is
With
yes.
4 of us, that is.
The full house. The entire crew is here for this episode. It's a special episode. Anything you guys wanna say for the
That
special?
will be
For
the
the
end
special.
of this episode then.
All right, this has been Verbal Laxative.
Thanks for listening. Hit like, comment,
Yeah, all right,
subscribe.
bye. No, it's good to have everybody back again. It's like my little escape away from home.
Why would you have to?
No, I don't know. I actually quite like home.
Good thing your
Is that
wife
something
doesn't
you
listen
want to talk
this, so it's a
about?
good
Well,
thing.
she should, because I just said I quite like home. It's a lot of praise.
It's like when the hostage footage gets out and they're, just reading the script.
What?
Yeah, no. If anything, it would be more like the Stockholm
They
syndrome.
are treating me well. I am happy here.
Yeah, just back then when Saddam wanted to show how nice he was, and he had the little kid on his lap. Stuart, are you getting your milk, Stuart? Yes. Yes, I am. Good, Stuart.
I feel like that's a skit from South Park.
No, that was real life.
Yeah, the kid's name was Stuart.
The kid's name was Stuart? Yeah.
Literally, yeah. No, yeah. So, what do you guys have for the big one, the big reunion?
Are we gonna start big or do we
Reunion
build up
cast.
here?
You still whatever you want,
We
man.
just
We have
talk.
we have stuff planned, but if you wanna come up with say some bullshit off your chest.
Yeah, I do. Oh, okay, you guys
Of course
watch.
you will. I knew you would.
Gonna
Go.
take this opportunity to talk about Marvel here.
Oh, okay.
You guys seen,
Hey, those two are big Marvel
You guys
fans.
seen Captain Marvel?
Yeah.
I just recently, actually, the latest one I watched was Ant-Man and the
Ant-Man
Wasp.
and Wasp.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Because
yeah,
I
I watched
feel
that very recently.
I feel like either Marvel, Disney, or Hollywood, they're not writing female characters well, because they're all the same tone. They're all stoic and not funny. Like they're just like really quiet and like emotionless.
I gotta
And-
say, Captain Marvel. I saw it. It was not. It was like kind of subpar.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah,
part.
it was.
But like the actress, well, I'm not the actress, but her character, she was so stoic. Like there was like no emotion with her. But it wasn't her, but it was all of Marvel's female characters, right? If you look at like Black Widow, same thing. If you look at like Gamora or her sister, I forgot her name. But- Nebula? Yeah, also like they're just like very serious, very stoic, very emotionless.
Well, a lot of their characters are just like that in the comics too, though.
Like
It's
I
just
mean,
their
even,
selection.
Even Hawkeye's like that, and like the only eccentric ones you have are Iron Man and.
Right, but like for the male character, there's a range, right? Like there's the funny one, there's like the serious one and things, but all the female one, they all seem to have one tone.
I can see where you're coming from, but it's just the character selection that they did for female characters is just that's their character type.
But like even look at DC, like Wonder Woman was pretty stoic, and
Black Panther's sister was pretty funny.
What would you want them to be? Like what would?
I think
what would be different? What would be variety?
one of the best female ring character I think of is Buffy, the
The
vampire Slayer.
vampires.
Yeah.
Because she was
Okay.
she was a flawed character. She was quirky, like not quirky, but she was like quick, like she was funny, like she was clever and smart.
Wait,
But Buffy is quite similar to all the Marvel characters. If you're thinking about a different female character,
which
it would
Buffy
be
are you
Willow.
talking about?
We're talking about the
The show?
Sarah Michelle Gellar?
Yeah, Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Because there was the movie one too with some.
There was a movie one too. I don't really remember her too well because it's only a single movie.
Right, but Buffy is more or less. She is kind of really similar to the Marvel heroines that you think are just all too cookie cutter stoic.
She was more like Spider-Man. Like she would joke with the vampires as she
No,
would kill
she
them.
would fuck the vampire.
Yeah, she did a few of them. Yeah,
A few of them.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
of
At least 2 that I remember.
Yeah, two. It was the main one, David
Spike.
Boreanaz.
Yeah,
and
Angel.
the other one, Spike.
And Spike,
which was,
yeah.
he was like the meth head version of the vampires.
yeah. Well, the time when she did it, it was in season 6, and that was the season of addiction.
I hated that plot line when he just ugh.
That was the most adult theme, because they went from like high school to university, and then they went to like young adulthood, and that's where they kind of faced a lot of the issues.
I kind of felt like during the end it was just all over the place. And who was it? It was Joss Whedon.
Joss Whedon
just
piloted
fucked
the show.
around. Yeah, he just fucked around, or whoever was in charge of Buffy in the later seasons just fucked around and messed everything up. But I want to say again, like. You want a female character that isn't stoic or anything like that, and that has humor.
I want female characters to be more variety.
It'd be something like more like Willow. Remember Willow?
Yeah, well, I remember. Well.
What was her name again? The actress's name? The redhead.
Allison Hannigan.
Yeah,
Allison
and she was in
Hannigan.
How I Met Your Mother too, right?
Yeah, she was in How I Met Your Mother.
She's quite different, right?
Yeah, I like her. She's very good. It's just like in Marvel right now, all the
I know
female
what you
characters,
mean.
they're
Yeah.
just so one tone. And
It's just cookie cutter. It's like a template that they're
yeah,
working
but
off of.
it's worse because like Marvel in general is already cookie cutter like story.
Oh yeah, they're getting even more cookie
But
cutter.
the females are the worst.
They're getting out the cookie cutter for the cookie cutter.
They just
Yeah,
want to
exactly.
make them look badass. That's the attitude that the typical badass character would have. So.
You can be badass, but you can also have a personality too.
Yeah, it's just
Oh.
they have so few female mains that
Yeah.
I guess that's what they're going for.
I guess that's what maybe they think of. Like to be badass, you have to be emotionless and stoic. I
Yeah,
guess.
and the thing is, it's not just isolated to like what a character is like and what you feel like from the movie. Outside the movie, there's also that there was controversy with this movie going into it before, with the main character lead.
Well,
right?
most people were just. I think that was more actress based because most people were like, who the hell is this person?
Well, I
Mostly-
think she
'cause-
riled some feathers, and then
Yeah.
some people bombed the reviews before the movie was released.
Yeah, but she is a well-established actress. I don't know why people are hating on her so much.
I didn't mind that casting. The
Yeah.
only thing that I remember being an issue was when they compared a picture of her ass with Tom
Spider-Man?
Holland. Yeah. His
Tom
ass
Holland's
like-
was better.
Yeah, it was.
Whose ass was better? Oh my god.
According to that
It
picture.
was. Yeah. She had like no ass or flat ass, and
That's
then
like,
Tom Holland's like all curvy.
It's like Snake in from Metal Gear, but his Smash Bros. Character, he had a really inflated ass,
yeah.
and then they had to like shrink it or something.
They
right?
shrinked it,
They had to
okay. I remember in Street Fighter 5 when that game came out, Chun-Li did a pose, and
Yeah.
her like boobs were like just flinging around like crazy.
Yeah.
And they had to like modify that to make
Okay.
it more stiff.
Would make what more stiff?
the boobs.
The boobs, yeah,
Yeah.
because they were like just bouncing everywhere.
We know
Like
what
her
you're
animation
getting
was
at.
hilarious.
I'm sure it
Cool.
made a lot
Oh.
of things stiff.
You jerk off to a fighting
a
game.
lot of people do.
Jason.
Well, isn't that
I
what
don't.
Dead or Alive for?
Yeah.
Dead or Alive? That's like the female ninjas.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's the one where you can
Pure fan
adjust
service game.
the boob physics. You can make them like
Okay,
more
yeah.
bouncier or less bouncier.
They have a target audience. They're going for it.
Yeah, I think, but in like when they hosted on Evo, they turned that shit too low.
Okay. Okay. All right, let's go to
Wait, when they turn evil? Is that
To
what-
Evo.
No, Evo. Evo is Evolution. It's a
Oh.
fighting game conference essentially. It's like the Super Bowl of fighting
Oh,
games.
okay, gotcha.
implying they all like flat-chested girls or something like that.
No, they just want to be sponsor friendly. You know how
Oh,
sponsors.
so they didn't turn it all the way down, or wait? I'm confused.
Well, you can adjust it so
effects, they didn't
like
turn
the
it-
Just
jiggling.
didn't jiggle as much.
Oh,
Yeah.
they turned the okay. I
They
thought for a
turned the-
second I'm like, you made the boobs smaller. That's what I
Well, no, there's
thought for-
no. The women keeps the boob size. Like all the characters have
I
like
see.
varieties of boob size.
I see. It's the juggle,
Would that have
It's the
affect-
juggle. That's
Jiggle.
the bounce intensity.
yeah.
I was just wondering if that would affect the hitbox, so people.
No,
tend to
no,
suck
their
more.
hitbox doesn't get bigger.
It's
just
probably
'cause they
big enough
bounce
that you
more.
can juggle them.
Okay. So back to the Marvel characters. So what do you think of Marvel or Ms. Captain Marvel?
Well, I would discuss it more, but you haven't watched it. So
I have seen it.
Oh, you've seen it?
I
It's
think
just
we all
the
seen
most recent one I watched was Ant-Man because
Oh,
it's on
okay.
Netflix. And
All right. Okay, so you didn't watch Ant-Man before
no,
you watched that.
yeah, and I
Okay,
just watched
see.
it because before.
I don't think that really
whatever Avengers
affects
movie
anything
comes
though.
Can we talk about it in depth? Because I think it's been
Just
a
do
while
it.
since.
Just do it. Yeah.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't-
It's far
I don't-
enough. If people don't want spoiler warnings, they probably tuned out by this point.
Really, I feel like there's nothing you could really say that spoils the movie.
Well, I think. Okay.
Complete spoilers.
Well, this is what happened in the movie.
But even then, you tell someone, they'll be like, "Oh," and they watch it and be like, "Oh, that didn't spoil anything."
Well, she's supposed to be all like forgetful, right? She's forgotten who she is. So I think.
Yeah.
I think that has something to do with the stoicness of
Well,
it.
that's-
because she's trying to adjust back to her own planet.
Well, even the-
Earth is her planet, right?
Yeah, Earth is
she's-
her planet.
She's a human infused with Kree blood to stay alive or something, basically.
It's silly, right? Because it's like they have the idea is like we want to do like a fish out of water scene, right?
Mhm.
Because like she was supposed to be an alien coming to Earth, but then when you find out she's born as a human,
Yeah.
then got a superpower. So she's only coming back home, but she pretends to be a fish out of water when she just actually returned back to her water.
So, but what I'm saying is just take it as somebody who like just had like has amnesia or something, you know, and they wouldn't be very emotive or anything like that. They'd be kind of within themselves until they figure out where the hell they are, until everything clicks again, right?
It is pretty intense amnesia. Because usually amnesia, you forget parts of your memory, but you wouldn't forget everything.
Right. No, I'm not saying exactly like amnesia. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, like, for example, like if her personality
Right.
is kind of stoic because of that.
Well, if you look in the comics, Miss Marvel was never really a well-developed character. Only in recent years in the comic books that they kind of give her a personality.
Yeah.
So really, her source material, like the writers didn't really have much to go on anyways. And my issue wasn't really too much about Marvel or Captain Marvel exactly. It's just female characters in general.
Right.
Female characters
only
in
they can
general.
quote you out of context.
Written
My
in
only problem is female characters.
Right.
End. Period. Be money.
I think there is some progression because if you look at female characters of the early 2000s, like Catwoman and Elektra, I think we've done better, or at least the movies have done better with Wonder Woman and Captain Marvel and Black Widow and stuff now.
I think people like the characters more, yes, but I don't know if they're written better.
They don't seem as like complex or nuanced that much, right?
They just want to make them seem strong,
Yeah.
like confident, and
But they're very
everything, too.
supporting character, like, you know, they don't really have, they don't seem flawed. Like if you look at like, I guess, what's his name, Robbie Downey Jr., Iron Man, he's a very flawed character, right? Like during Civil War, he like has this guilt with his family and his father and stuff, and that's why he wanted like the whole like conscription of all the heroes, and then that's where him and like Captain America butt heads and stuff. And like you can see like, oh, there's some depth in it, but then, or depth in the character. But if you look at like Black Widow, what's her story? She's just Russian and she's a spy.
Well, they tried to give her a bit of backstory in that too,
Like,
but it was pretty
In
bad.
Ultron, they try to do a little bit.
Yeah.
They try, well, they do the cheapest way that Hollywood does to give a female character depth is a relationship.
Yeah. Really.
So they just give her like, oh yeah, she's into Bruce Banner or the Hulk. But like, what's her story? Like, all
Well,
we know is
they
that
did give her those weird flashback
Yeah.
stuff too, but it was pretty weak and there was no nothing added from
pretty
it.
much all the female characters have to be with someone.
Well,
It
that's the
seems.
thing. This Captain Marvel one, she didn't have like a love interest.
Exactly.
That makes her different already. Boom, Brian. There you are.
makes her different in a sense. Yes, they didn't give her that clutch, but it didn't make her interesting either.
The world of difference, Brian. Oh god, it's such a cosmetic difference. Yeah, it is a cosmetic. I know. I agree with you actually because I felt the character development was just kind of flat. And then if you think about it, yeah, all the female characters do kind of just whatever. They just fit the same tropes kind of. There's like this base trope of all the female characters.
Like if you look at Scarlet Witch, she sounds pretty interesting, but then again, I think she has this like fake accent. I don't know exactly what origin it is, and then she like loses it in the Avengers movie. She sounds very American suddenly.
Yeah, because a simulation.
No, she like lost her accent. It was almost like she was born in America. But her character also, again, they just gave her a relationship, and that's how they built depth. But like, you don't really get to know her too well.
Well, no, they built depth with her with the whole in Civil War.
Yeah,
When she
she had
messes
a.
up and explodes the building, and then she's all guilt.
But what's her personality like? How would you describe her other than?
Well, she's more mellow than the others.
Is she mellow?
Yeah, she's not
so.
up as I don't know. I think they're like the creators and the producers might be afraid to give women. They have to make the women look strong because if you give them vulnerability or something, then you could have some factions or some viewers that'd be like,
But
why
they
are the
do
women
give them
weak?
they do give them a vulnerability, but it is not. It's very like base, like it's a cookie cutter. It's a base template kind of deal. It's like, oh, she's tough, she's stoic, and she also has a little bit of vulnerability. Now, who does this apply to? And you think about, okay, pretty much all the characters, right? It's like the same recipe that they kind of come
Well,
up.
they're just playing it safe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're playing it
They're
safe.
playing it safe.
That's
yeah.
That's what
I'm saying,
Marvel
they're
does,
playing-
though.
But if you really compare like the female and the male cast, it's so different, right? Like if you think of male, think of what is it, Guardian of the Galaxy? Who's Chris Pratt's character?
Star-Lord.
Star-Lord. Like he's like, you know, a comedic, right? Like he doesn't really fight battles with the guns. Like he dance off and things like that. And that's a huge different approach than like Bruce Banner. And that's a very different character than like Spider-Man. They're all like varied, right? They all have, you know, some personality. They all have their what makes them special. But all the women, they just seem very one note, as
But you have
Zinzin
to
was
think,
saying.
even these characters,
Sexist B money.
even the characters, they have the male characters are the ones who have history, like they're from the 60s and 70s, created way back in the 50s. The only female character that I can think of that was created way back then was like Wonder Woman. Everybody else, Black Widow, Captain Marvel, Black Cat, all of these were started, you know, in like the late 90s, even in the comics, the late 90s or like early 2000s.
But even
So they don't
Wonder
have-
Woman in DC, she's pretty one note as well.
Really?
What is different
In the
It's not
movie.
Marvel, right?
Yeah, and it's not just Marvel. I think Hollywood in general don't see
So if
don't have good women like women characters seems to be underwritten. Like they're kind of
Hollywood
Well, no,
in general,
like,
you mean? Like all
there's
over?
a lot of movies where they have a really, really good written like female main, and they get a really, you know, like a good actress that really jives with it well. Like Natalie Portman, whenever she's in like a really main starring role, she usually knocks it out of the park, and it's well written, just well
And
well
even
acted. It's very memorable. It's very distinct.
Amy Adams now.
Amy Adams, yeah, and she's got a big range with that as well.
Jennifer Lawrence. even?
I know what you mean. I think it's more just superhero films that's really
It's-
prevalent.
it might be it could be just superheroes.
It's and that's what I was trying to say is that the female characters don't have that much of even a character history to them because they're
But
just.
but when you're making a movie, you can write that into
Yeah, I
them.
mean like the writers of the movie. It's not the age and the history of the character as a comic book character. It's not going to like matter too much depending on how they write the character, make it interesting, right? Like whatever they're lacking in, if you're good writers and whatever, you can make up a story. You know, with in these superhero films,
but
a lot of it is, you know, like kind of it's not from the comic books. It might just be from what they thought of, right? The story that they
Yeah,
thought
but
of.
if you diverge too far from source materials, then you get like all
You're gonna
the
lose a
other
Yeah.
people that are gonna cry
Yeah.
out to be like complaining about all
But
this.
then even
And
yeah, I don't read comic books that much, so I can't really tell if the character is like really different from in the movie to the comic books. But
also you realize they signed her up for like a multi-picture deal. So just like with Iron Man, just like with Captain America, their first films were Iron Man was like one exception. It did pretty well, but like Captain America or Thor or anybody, their first movies weren't that great. The characters didn't come off that great.
That's
But then
definitely possible
they
too.
grew up through like the second
yeah,
one, the third
they
one.
develop the character
They
with each
developed
movie.
yeah.
Well, more movies
So
you get to see more of her.
They could be throwing her in like this, like all stoic and like a fish back in her original.
How many films has she signed up for?
I heard, I can't be sure, but I thought I read somewhere up like 7 or something like that, 6 or 7.
Because there's a lot of contracts expiring this year.
Yeah.
But it's not like full films. It could count as cameos too.
No, but well, she's, in my understanding, my opinion completely, she's gonna be like the new Captain America.
Well,
And
that's what I'm wondering.
Black Panther's gonna be the new Iron Man, the guy with all the money, the guy who can fund everything, and she's gonna be the moral, you know.
I thought she was more of a Thor, you know, because like Thor and her seems to
power
like.
wise, she's more of a Thor, but in terms of a team, I think she could play the Thor and the Captain America.
Because Captain America kind of takes the leadership role.
Yeah, and she
you think
will-
she'll be the leader?
Yeah, she'll be the leader. Black Panther will be the next Tony Stark. Unlimited funds to fund everything and whatever.
Who's
issues
part of
they-
Civil War 2? Well, that's like in the comics, I mean, because Captain Marvel was one of the main faces of that. Was
Yeah.
that against Tony Stark?
I can't
Do you
remember.
recall?
I never really read Civil War 2.
So yeah, it's not as interesting as one, but still, she was one of the main faces. So
Yeah.
I mean, I could see them build towards something where she's the main, like you were saying. I just know that it's quite a few people that have their contracts expiring this year, right?
Well, the main 3
Yeah.
are pretty much done. Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, and Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
They're
so
gone pretty much.
I wonder what they'll do with
I
that.
don't know what Ruffalo's going to do, or he might come back, or he might just stay on because
Switch back to Ed Norton.
not switch back to Ed Norton, but like he might be like just stay on for the Avengers movies, or just as this in a scientist capacity he shows up in every once in a while. But I'm pretty sure that Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor are going to be done after this one.
Yeah, that's
Whether they're
contract.
now, I don't know if that means their characters are like dead.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Will they write them out,
or they're just going to write them out?
Because what's cool too is the Disney Fox acquisition.
Yeah.
So they could even get like X-Men and stuff
Right.
now.
Well, yeah. So
Fantastic Four.
They'll be rebooting it, the whole universe.
Well, for Captain America, Bucky takes over the mantle in the comic books.
Right.
So they likely could do that.
They could do that too, but I don't know. I think my opinion is that they might go with Captain Marvel in that, in terms of like the leader of the new group of Avengers or whatever they're gonna come up with next. Bucky, they could just put Bucky off till later. Bucky could always go back into cryo and like come back later, or maybe even Bucky dies. It doesn't mean they have to follow.
I thought he did Dust. He was one of the Dust people.
Yeah, but
Obviously, they're
considering the fact that
they're not dead forever.
they've
There's a
already-
new
they've
Spider-Man
already-
movie coming out.
Okay, well,
Spider-Man movie and there's the Black Panther 2
Right.
is slated.
So here's my question: like when he snapped his finger, people would turn to dust, right?
Yeah.
So we have a prediction that these characters are going to come back, especially Spider-Man because he has another movie coming out. But like when they bring people back, or is it just the people who get dusted brought back, or even characters who died from getting killed from Thanos? Like for example, Loki. He got like his neck was snapped or whatever, right?
And I think it would be just, again, my opinion, the ones who got dusted, because the other people just died because they died. But the snap, I think, would be, if you reverse the snap, it's just the people that got dusted.
Oh, I'm not sure what's gonna happen. Or if it might be like Dragon Ball, where they wish people alive at a certain point, and then
Disney acquires Funimation or whoever owns Dragon Ball.
Or it could be, I don't know. I don't want to speculate too much about Endgame because I don't want to ruin it for myself.
Well, in the comics, with how it works was even the people that he just killed without the snap, they came back.
Yeah.
Because whoever just undid basically everything he
Yeah,
did
well,
at that
but
point.
that's the thing. If they go back in time to before he even snaps, then they just... If it's a time travel
Well, the
kind of
weird
thing
thing is, too, because in the movies when he snapped, like, the gems basically exploded or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So that's not how they did it in the comics. In the comics, he did it effortlessly, and he just kept on. Like,
yeah. Well, in this, I think the whole idea with that, the snap and then the gauntlet fizzing out, messing up, is Doctor Strange did something with the one gem that he gave him.
the time stone.
The time stone. It might
Well, the
not.
time one's the only one that they can do anything with, right?
Yeah.
To like actually pick.
Well,
Well,
it could-
reality
Oh,
too.
they use
They have
they use
the
space
reality.
to like mind control people.
And
Well, I
they-
mean, like to actually bring people back.
They also have
Oh,
the microverse.
potentially.
I think the microverse is going to play a big part. Ant-Man's world, the micro or whatever it's called.
Yeah,
is
he's
gonna
just
play-
kind of stuck there
The
for the
quantum
time being.
realm.
the quantum realm.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's definitely hinted for sure.
Yeah.
So they're gonna do something with it.
The one thing that's been bugging me is at the end of Guardians 2, you know, they show the cutscene of Adam Warlock,
Yeah.
and he hasn't even been mentioned at all.
Well, because they might just leave him for Guardians 3.
And that's it.
As the
Because
main villain.
in the comics, he's like he's like the main force against Thanos,
Right,
and in
but-
this, it's like, okay, he's just in a pod or something.
But the main story was always about Thanos, right? All the other introductions they're doing doesn't mean that they have to be concluded in this story arc. They could be taken care of in Phase 4 or whatever the hell comes after Endgame, right?
yeah, I don't know.
Because I think this whole first 3 phase thing was all about Thanos, so they're focusing on Thanos, Warlock, and everybody else who was hinted at or mentioned or even
Yeah, but
shown.
Warlock doesn't do much other than this.
Right, and that's why I think they might
Freaking-
just turn him into like the main villain for Guardians 3.
As a villain. Okay.
Or-
Space Jesus, essentially, but okay. He could
Oh
be a
no,
villain.
I'm sorry, whatever, like not villain, but the main protagonist, I guess, or not.
Character that drives the story.
Yeah,
okay.
whatever. You know what I'm saying.
Yes.
Don't know. Don't know.
I think you gonna know my standpoint. So
What? I don't. Please enlighten us again.
actually, what kind of makes me angry about Marvel? Well, not angry, but after the Avengers Infinity War, I think it was Kevin Feige who was leading the project. He was like, "Oh, I'm gonna keep the name for the next movie a secret because it's gonna be a spoiler, I guess."
Mhm.
And you find out it's Endgame. What is that gonna spoil? Like that's almost predicted that was gonna
Lots
be the
of people
case.
predicted that.
So I just felt like, what was the point of him holding it back? Like it was just like a
just to
clickbait.
generate buzz.
So
just-
that enraged you. So
Yeah.
you
Yeah, the
enough
fake
to,
clickbait.
enough to not watch the movie anymore.
Well, I think I didn't actually plan to watch Captain Marvel. I just got dragged into it.
Oh yeah.
Like I did not like it, but it wasn't. I don't know. I just sat there, I guess.
Well, the thing is, now, the way that Marvel's been building all this stuff, it's like you kind of have to watch all the movies in between to get the full picture.
Yeah, because there's a little bit. I guess they put a little bit of something in.
Well, because you know that, like, Captain Marvel, for instance, and Ant-Man, that they're going to be in this last movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you
So
don't
it's
know,
like you have to watch their movies, too, to, you know, see how they got to whatever situation they're
yeah,
in.
The one thing that really effed me up with Captain Marvel was Nick Fury. He kept on saying shield, shield, shield. Whereas in Iron Man 1, Agent Coulson is like keeps on saying strategic homeland, blah blah blah,
Yeah.
and then at the end he shortens it to shield, and then
Yeah,
Pepper
that's-
Potts is like, oh, so you settled on a name? He's like, yeah, or you settled on that, and then he's like, yeah, shield is much.
a lot of
easier
stuff
to
has
say.
to be retconned, right?
They did DH. What was the actor's name again?
Huh?
Nick Fury.
Oh,
What's his name?
Samuel Jackson?
They DH them really well. Like
Yeah.
he looked really good
Yeah.
for being so young. Like he went from Glass being like a really old
Mhm.
and frail man into like a young hip agent.
Yeah.
CG.
Was this?
I
CGI.
don't know.
Well, how
I'm
much it
assuming-
was CG or just makeup? I feel like makeup department did. a
Well,
good
yeah,
job.
because I
think it's
don't
both.
think they would have done a lot of CG.
Is he actually that thin? I don't know. I haven't even seen Glass yet, so.
Nowadays, you know what? They're gonna reach a point where you might not even need actors for these movies. You could just put in a CGI actor.
Yeah, well, that would also cut into the actor's pay, right? Because like
Automate the actors away.
in a sense, yeah, because like you don't need to like hire them for like a scene. They're like, oh, we'll just post credit you. We'll just CG it.
Sure. fuck
Like
it.
if you don't need a stand-in, like say like you need to reshoot a frame because you like whatever happened,
Yeah.
and then you could just CG them.
Yeah, you can CG them.
Yeah, and
like
it would
Star
save
Wars.
it would save a lot of money.
CG Princess Leia in there. CG Grand Moff Tarkin. The guy's been dead for how many years now? Oh
It's
my
like
god.
Futurama, where they do credits for a movie or something. It's like actor bot 4 and stuff like that. They'll actually have famous like individual robots.
I could see there's
They'll
an
just
act.
be green or something, so you can green screen them into anything.
It's just
With those
it's,
ping pong balls.
it's just another addition to automation taking our jobs here.
Yeah, take the actors' jobs.
Yeah,
Guys that
take
get
them
paid
out first.
millions.
Give the actors universal basic.
Well, they probably would have if it's established.
All right. Shall we go into something a little bit more heavy, or you wanna
Was there anything else
keep it
related
light?
to that topic? That...
Well, yeah. Well, I got nothing light.
Well, I meant like related to the movie topic or anything. You know,
Well, there's a-
better segue.
Kind of just looking forward to. I want to see what the Disney streaming service looks like, and then I don't know. We talked about the streaming services last time, but yeah, just want to see what that's gonna be like. Other than that, I don't even know if I'm gonna fucking.
Well, how much
Apple's
will they
setting up
change
their own,
things?
Fuck, man. I only have a limited amount of money. I can't subscribe to all of these fucking services.
I'm still gonna stick to like one. I'll pay for one at a time.
See what it's like. Just go back to pirating, just like we said before. But I don't know. That's all I have to say about entertainment.
Do you think they had the whole Fox thing planned before they planned out the streaming thing? It must have been in the
Possibly.
works or something.
Well, isn't it? There was that whole beef of. I think we even talked about this last time. Netflix pulled a bunch of shows that were, like Marvel or Disney related.
Marvel pulls shows out of
Or
Netflix.
Marvel pulled. Oh, so I don't. I see. I don't even know who pulled what. I thought it was.
Well,
because with Punisher, it was Netflix that dropped Punisher, right?
Well, I don't know what happened in the background, but it's Netflix for all of them that said, "Oh, this Daredevil's canceled, Punisher's
Yeah,
canceled."
Netflix said
a
that.
lot of
Like,
them just
dropped
suck.
all
But
of them,
who
right?
knows what happened in the background? I'm pretty sure Disney was like, "Hey, we're taking these shows to our streaming service. We're gonna," and then Netflix was probably just like, "Oh yeah, you think you're doing that?"
I don't know.
I thought a big part of it was just a lot of them just sucked.
They didn't suck.
Some shows did like
No.
Punisher.
Daredevil
Right.
was awesome.
Daredevil was okay for the first season.
Yeah, there's bad things about Daredevil.
That's
in the
kind
second
of
one.
what I heard too.
But,
First
like-
season was okay, and it just got progressively worse.
But like, as far as I know, Punisher was doing pretty decent.
Punisher was good.
Iron Fist was.
Oh, actually,
Iron Fist was bad.
Luke-
Second season,
Some of them were pretty bad.
Luke Cage, I heard it was they have a character named Shades, and he was very stereotypical because he wore shades,
Mhm.
and he was a very one-noted character. And then he had a episode arc where he lost his shades, and he was like a real person.
The sequel to that is.
And then
when
as
he
soon
grows, it's called
as soon as
50
that
Shades of
episode
Grey.
as soon as that episode ended, he got his shades back, and he just became a one-note character again. Like it's almost like his shades was holding him back from being a real human.
Jesus Christ, this must have tickled you to no end.
It was hilarious to see.
Of course it was, wasn't it?
Actually, my last rant is the Oscar
Last
awards.
rant. Really?
Oh, you're gonna talk about. You're gonna talk about.
Okay,
Bohemian
so
Rhapsody.
yeah. So there's an award called Best Editing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was awarded to a movie called Bohemian Rhapsody, which is about Queens and Mercury,
of
Freddie
Band.
Mercury.
Not Queens as in multiple Queens. But
Oh, it's
the band name is
The
Queen.
band name Queen.
Freddie
Freddie
Mercury.
Mercury.
One of the members.
Freddie Mercury was the lead singer.
All right, so in this
Hey,
movie,
hey, what's a song from Queen?
Killer Bee.
Ah.
Bohemian Rhapsody.
And Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah,
All right, so
just testing.
So in this movie, they awarded best editing, but when you watch the movie, it actually has the worst editing in the movie. Like they have this one scene, and even the editor said it was this. He's embarrassed about this one scene, and it's been tweeted across like the internet when they awarded this movie or this award. And so the scene is like a very basic scene. It's basically just Freddie Mercury coming out of a building, going to a table with his friends and drinking coffee, and then like I guess a producer came and present himself and it's like, oh, so this is the Queens, or this is Queen. Anyways, this movie.
Basically, they just cut a whole bunch of times. They just fucking cut like 60 whatever
Yeah, it was
times.
60 cuts in 104 seconds, or 140 seconds, or 104 seconds. Sorry, 60 cuts in 104 seconds.
Okay.
Too much
That's-
excessive cutting.
That's a lot of cuts. Like
Should've
if you
won the
think of
Oscars.
a movie like super action packed like Transformers, it has 42 cuts in the same amount of time. So you have 60 cuts for a very simple scene that I just described, which is
That's
just
what won them award.
it's
It's
and
a pure
it-
numbers game now.
it's silly, but like even when you watch it, it's very jarring because by having so many cuts, it doesn't make sense like why they even do it, and it makes less sense for the actors because also the guy who played Freddie Mercury, he won the award for best actor, and it's surprising because how could you even show your acting talent if you're always being cut around?
Did you see the movie?
I haven't seen the movie, but I've seen the scenes.
How can they do something like this? very jarring. It was too unnatural.
I've seen the scenes.
The scene was too unnatural.
But this kind of reminds me of like.
So basically, you went on YouTube. You saw that there was a critique of this scene. You watched the scene, and then you can't sleep anymore after watching this YouTube critique of that scene.
Well, here's the thing with editing. When you watch a movie with good editing, it should almost be invisible, because when you come out of a movie with good editing, you don't think like, oh, that was great editing. You would mostly think like, that was a good story, I love the characters, things like that, right? Like editing is almost like subtitles. When you read subtitles, you're not supposed to notice their subtitles. It's supposed to like, you're supposed to read them and they just ingrain in your head with like the voice.
It's gonna be kind of hard to not notice if there's subtitles. You can, especially if we're watching a foreign movie. That's the only thing you can.
Well, like you're not supposed to notice them in a way that impacts it, that changes the story, right?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't affect the movie or the
it shouldn't
show.
be distracting, in other words.
Yeah, in
You
other words.
notice. You shouldn't notice. Like, wow, that's a lot of fucking cuts.
But like, because I'm thinking back, like when I was younger, I watched anime.
Yeah.
And like,
you still do. Caveat, you still do.
Yeah, I used to, but I still.
You don't have to say when you're younger. I still watch it. There's no shame in it, man.
So there's a community and there's fan subbers, right? They're fans that sub these anime.
Yes.
And these subbers, they wanted to be noticed. They wanted to show
I hate
off.
that sometimes.
Right? And so there's a very meme-ish subtitle. It's in Death Note, right? It's the scene where Light Yagami, he's in a helicopter or whatever, and his master plans start connecting. And then he says this one line where he's like, oh, everything's going according to Keikaku. And then it's like, on the same frame, there's like editor note, Keikaku means plan.
That became a meme.
Yeah, that became a meme.
Yeah.
But that's like, if you think of subtitles, that's just completely
stupid.
Yeah, it's redundant. Like, and it's just like showing off at that point, right?
Hey, but if it didn't become a meme, would you still be talking about it today? Would you even remember something like this?
Well, like I'm thinking like subtitles and editing is kind of like that same thing. It's like they're kind of invisible, but then how do you award something, say like best subtitles or best editing, when you're not supposed to notice them, right?
Okay, but no, like I think best editing, in my opinion, is more of like it's almost like an industry sort of award. Like you can only appreciate the good editing. Well, the audience appreciates good editing, but it's not like they know like the all that technical shit behind it, right? But then the people, I guess, that gives out the good and like, you know, best editing, usually they are in like the know. They know how all the editing works and shit, and then they see a movie where they notice all the editing is, you know, what, close to flawless or something like that.
Is best editing a new award?
I don't even know.
No, that's
it's been around.
traditional.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just a big deal because Bohemian Rhapsody got it and Brian didn't like it.
Not just me. A lot of people.
A lot of people that notice editing did not like it.
It was horrendous. It's like
isn't there? Well, sorry to cut you off there, but isn't there also a best like visual or something like that?
Yeah, best visual.
there's best visual, best costume. There's a lot of stuff.
It kind of gets like a fine line of which one goes where then.
That's why editing's
How
like
do
that
you
one.
judge?
It's like one of those it's like a niche award. Like you can only tell what good editing is.
No, well, editing is like very crucial for a movie.
Of course.
Editing
but
dictates the pacing of the movie.
Which movies have you seen had really just fucking top notch?
Actually, there's a director. His name Edgar Wright. He does movie like Scott Pilgrim, Baby Driver.
But that's like a lot of visual stuff.
That's very good editing, right? Because like he's like bombarding you with like visual jokes and stuff, and it works really well in the film. And it's clearly editing, and it's just like the way he does screen transitions. They're very clever.
Yeah, but still, it's a niche award. No one's like sitting there crossing their fingers, being like, "I hope this movie wins best editing." I hope, you know, people will be like, the Oscar heads will be like, "I hope so and so gets the Oscar for best actor or best actresses." Nobody's really saying, "Fucking, I hope this one gets it for editing." You know what I mean?
No, I mean Edgar Wright. Like you have to watch his trilogy, or I guess it's
the
called
Cornell trilogy,
to really understand his editing and his way of storytelling, which his editing works with his way of storytelling, right?
The issue is not like Bohemian winning. It's just winning with poor editing. If it was like okay.
How much did editing matter to you before Bohemian Rhapsody? That's my question.
To be honest, you don't
Not
with
that
good
much?
editing, I wouldn't have
Not that
noticed.
much.
I wouldn't have noticed.
Okay, so before Bohemian Rhapsody existed, you didn't have a problem.
It could be any movie that wins it.
Okay, but with this one that you didn't even see, you have a problem.
I have a problem.
What movie won the previous year's best editing?
I would have to pull it up.
You'll have to watch the YouTube video.
I didn't
for
even
that.
know it was an award.
You'll have to watch a YouTube
editing,
video.
I
for
find
that.
like it's not just visuals and such, because editing also ties in audio and everything too. So it's
I
like
think-
what Zinzin might be
I think maybe
alluding to, where it's like very specific people would be able to tell how good the editing actually is, whereas the common person watching a movie, they see the visual effects and everything, and they might consider that super impressive, and they might think it's editing, but it's like maybe following something different.
It's just way too subtle.
But-
To really appreciate it, I feel like you got to be some kind of working in the industry or doing that line of work to really appreciate something like
Best
that.
editing in 2018
Wait,
went
actually,
to
hold on.
Dunkirk.
there's a
Dunkirk, right?
Dunkirk. Oh, that was a Nolan movie.
Yeah.
Actually, Birdman, did that win best editing? Because like
That was
that was the movie where they tried to do one shots. Well, not that they tried to do one shots, but it was a fake one shot. Like, because they always had cuts that they hid, so they made the movie look like it was a movie that's entirely one shot, but it wasn't. So I could see that being really a likelihood of winning
They
best
didn't-
editing.
Wait, did they say they made it seem like the whole movie's one shot?
No, when you
They're
watch it,
famous
it
for
is.
one famous one shot scene, because it was like a super long one shot.
Yeah, but like they made the movie felt like a continuous one shot, right? There were like a lot of like where the camera kind of went into someone's back and they would do a cut, and then that's how they would
Yeah.
continue.
Well, I remember Birdman just for that one actual one shot that they did, but I didn't recall it being like the whole movie trying to be one
The
shot.
whole movie in one shot. What would that be? Would that be like Blair Witch Project? Was that a movie done in one shot?
There was a movie that
A good movie?
I don't know. It wasn't it's not well known, but they did it in one shot.
which one was that?
The one Brian made.
I don't even
Coming in
think
theaters.
pornos are done in one
Oh,
shot.
what about those POV movies?
POV is still, you'd be surprised,
Oh,
they're
yeah,
not done
no,
in
I
one
know.
shot.
Oh.
They're like,
It
didn't-
finishes with a one shot, right?
You'd be surprised.
They're like, oh, we're gonna have to do that again.
yeah.
Actually, do you think they award best editing for the porno?
You ever see
awards?
AVNs? That's basically the Oscars for the pornos.
Do they have best editing?
Oh, sorry. What was it called? It's just Adult Video Whatever Awards. I pretty sure
Yeah,
it's called the
A-
AVNs.
AVN.
I don't know what the N is. so
It's not
Adult
network,
Video
is it?
Network or something.
I don't know, but it's like the AVN Awards or something like that. They have their own. They have their own award show. You know, who did the best threesome? Who took the best fucking anal or some shit?
Oh, okay.
It's very high class stuff.
But not. There's no
Every-
best editing.
Now,
Every
how do
person-
you judge who gets that?
Well, whoever takes the biggest fucking cock and still survives. I don't know.
Okay.
Like just a gaping asshole.
Sorry, Hassan, you're
like-
gonna say something before this kind of.
See something like that.
Okay, we're not getting off this.
See something like that. You it won't be a niche award. You will see like, oh yeah, that girl definitely deserves the best.
So
you
they
know.
like measured her diameter of her ass
No,
prior,
it's
and then
not
measured
like
her.
a-
It doesn't have to
Guinness.
get mathematical. You just can tell.
Yeah, it's just that scene that, oh my god, just
She worked hard for that one.
30 minutes, like a 50-minute. Yeah, you'll see. It's not a niche
Hassan,
award.
you had something to say, right?
I was gonna talk about Dunkirk
Right,
from the
let's
year
do
before.
that.
Alright. Good transition.
Yeah.
Go.
Well, the editing in that is like, if you pay attention to the movie, if you pay attention to the editing, then the editing is well done. And I haven't seen Bohemian Rhapsody. I want to, but I think if they did that kind of
It's
shot,
okay, Brian didn't either.
if,
I don't think that's a
if they
prerequisite.
did, if they
I'm
did,
pretty sure it's a prerequisite.
if they did, what was it? 104 cuts in 60 seconds.
No, 60 cuts in 104 seconds.
60 cuts in 104 seconds.
Do you know why he
maybe
does
the
this?
scene called for it. Maybe the scene before that and the scene after that. You know, it's like the way it meshes together. You can't just watch that one scene and be like, "Well, this is bad." Or this.
Well,
To be fair to
that
Brian-
one scene was notorious, but like it's not like the whole movie's unwatchable. Like there are some decent editing, but there also are a lot of just cuts for no reason.
To be fair to Brian, that scene was pretty awkward.
But by the way, this movie also made almost 900 million too.
Didn't it win Best Picture as well?
No, it did not win
Wait,
Best
what-
Picture.
What won Best Picture?
Green Book.
Green Book, yeah. A black guy making a white guy feel important.
I have not.
Wait, was that really the plot?
A white guy who's driving around a black guy who's a jazz singer or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Or on his tour of like Southern America or something.
So
like
What
that.
did you say? A white guy makes a black guy feel important?
No, a
Well,
black guy making a white guy feel
Well,
important. That was the headlines in one of the
Okay.
articles.
White people have had it tough, so you know
yeah,
it's
they've had
good
it
that
really
they
tough.
get this.
And this one white guy, spending time with the black guy, becomes a little less racist.
Oh, I see. So it's just basically okay. Feel good racist convert movie.
Yeah, essentially.
Okay. I
I've never
see.
even heard of this movie. I'm so out of it.
I need to watch
that's
it.
that's
I-
why
I- I
that's
still
why I
want-
won the Oscar.
I
honestly.
want to watch it because the white guy is Viggo Mortensen.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
And the black guy is what's his name? Mahershala Ali.
Oh, he's
the guy from,
he's the
Moonlight.
uncle.
The guy from Moonlight.
He's the main, the guy from Moonlight. But more importantly, he's Uncle Aaron in Spider-Verse.
Oh yeah, and he's also in True Detective season 3.
Okay. I see.
He has a smooth voice.
Smooth voice.
Yeah.
All right. You like that velvet, don't you?
He was very good in Spider-Verse.
Spider-Verse was a good movie in general.
It was the best.
Really? Yeah, okay, I didn't see it. Maybe I should.
I thought you did see it.
I did not
Did you
see
not?
it.
Oh.
I
Spider-Verse,
didn't
no.
see it.
That's good.
I know I need to see it, but I'm way too behind. I'm behind on Netflix and movies.
Because that one
everything.
was won Best Animated for the
Yeah.
Oscar. It
For
beat
good
out
reason.
Incredibles 2.
It had a good soundtrack too.
Yeah.
Good music in that.
Yeah. A lot of good rap.
Since we're on the topic of movies, anybody excited for Shazam?
I kind of.
It's already out.
am.
It's out next Friday.
No, it's already out. People seen it. Like my friend group has already seen it.
Really? Okay, I thought.
I haven't seen movies on like premiere nights for a long time.
I haven't seen movies up right.
But I don't want to get my hopes up for it because that's just the nature of DC movies. That if you do get your hopes up for it, you're not in for a good time. But
Well,
I haven't seen Aquaman either.
oh yeah.
But I hear mixed reviews. Overall, I guess it's leaning towards good. I just still gotta see it. But
Money-wise, Aquaman is now the biggest.
yeah, I know
DC
like
movie.
financially
it,
did
it,
good.
it beat Dark Knight.
But I mean like actual review
Yeah.
wise. But Shazam, I'm kind of just looking forward to because it's gonna be actually different. Whereas they made DC characters all so dark and gritty
Yeah.
that this will actually be a change of pace.
Exactly. That I'm pretty excited for it. Anyway, that was my bit.
Shazam in theaters. Go watch it now.
Oh, fuck's sakes.
We got a shield.
Yeah, if they do well in the box office because of this.
Oh, God.
We're gonna get a cut.
Oh, I would love to get a cut from...
Zachary Levi has to give us a cut.
Yeah, I would love to get a cut for...
He got super cut for that movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they all did. Remember what Chris Pratt looked like before he became Star Lord?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if someone comes up to you and says, hey, we'll pay you a few million for
Yeah,
you
it's
to
your
become
job.
Man, I
one
would
of your
do that.
favorite superheroes from when you were a kid, I'm pretty sure people find a way to
I'd
get
lived
in
in the
shape.
gym.
No,
much-
they
how
tell
much
you,
did-
it's your job to work out.
Exactly.
It's
How
your
much
job
did
to
they
work
pay
out.
Christian Bale to get fat in Vice?
He does he
He
does
does it
his
himself.
history.
He's
He's all over the place.
He was just like, I'll do it for free.
Not
to
good.
get fat.
No, it's not good for his body.
Have you seen the earlier stuff where he's like super skinny? And,
Yeah,
like,
Machinist.
Machinist and
and
Equilibrium.
then doing like Batman Begins. He got super
Equilibrium,
big.
he didn't look that skinny.
No,
he
but
looked,
he was still pretty skinny. Like, he looked like a normal skinny person, whereas in Machinist, he was like an
yeah.
emaciated person.
And then in The Fighter, he was also
yeah, and then
like,
he got back
Yeah.
down, and then he did like Dark Knight and he got
yeah, he's a
huge
yo-yo.
again.
He yo-yos.
Which is not, it's not good.
It is
Not good.
definitely not.
But
then-
Vice, he's
Vice, he's
fat,
huge.
man.
But he's a great
fat.
actor though.
Well, Russell Crowe does that too for some of his roles recently.
I don't think he's ever done it to this.
I thought
big
Russell
extreme
Crowe
as Bale.
naturally just got fat.
For Body of Lies, he got pretty big. But maybe
Like, but did he go to like like just
Well, yeah, he's never been on the
Just
skinny
emaciated or-
yeah, emaciated spectrum.
and then all the
side.
way back up to.
Yeah.
He didn't yo-yo. He kind of progressed.
Yeah,
fat.
he's just progressing towards.
I think he may have just looked at roles that fit his body type at the time. He's like, well, I can't be the Gladiator anymore, so I'm
Christian
gonna
Bale
pick this.
purposely chose one.
Well,
that's the
aren't
direct
they doing
opposite.
Gladiator too? But
Are
Yeah,
they?
I saw that. Yeah, they are. They're doing Gladiator 2.
Like,
Why?
officially.
Yeah.
I mean,
Gladiator
they're
was such a good movie.
They're
Why not
resurrecting
end it?
Maximus from the dead.
no, this one's set in the afterlife.
It's set in the Roman hell, the Roman version of hell.
That might
This
actually
is
make
hell.
it interesting, but still, Gladiator was such a good movie. Why doesn't just
he
end
gets to
it?
fight Joaquin Phoenix in hell again? No, this is apparently the second movie is gonna take place. It's gonna focus on the kid in the first movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Like
gonna
he's
be him.
grown up and now he's a gladiator.
He's grown up and now he needs a movie. That's
Yeah.
that's what it is.
Speaking of Joaquin, have you seen the stills for him as Joker?
No, I did not even know there was a
Or
Joker.
as
kinda
the
wanna-
character is Arthur Murray or something like that. They've given him a name, but yeah, it's starting to look like it might be a good.
He looks like a psycho anyway.
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
Well,
he could. I'm not gonna say he looks like a psycho, but he can pull off the psycho.
He can. Very minimum makeup is required.
I've seen one still of it. I'm trying to avoid as much as I can.
Yeah.
But is it different from the stupid ass Joker that?
Yes.
What's his name from,
Oh, very
was it
much
30
so.
Second of
Oh,
March?
Jerry Leto.
Yeah. Because that was stupid.
That
It
was-
just
that
made
was-
Wait, you don't
him
like
tat
his
it up.
grills and his
Oh,
tats?
No, that's stupid.
Speaking of
Street
that,
Joker.
speaking of that, they say the Suicide Squad 2 is gonna be a reboot. It's not gonna be a Suicide Squad 2 per
Okay.
se.
Well,
That's
who's
good.
isn't that James Gunn that's doing that?
Oh
Yeah.
From
Oh,
I had a
Guardian.
lot of issues with the first
You know,
movie.
your movie sucked if you're doing a complete reboot right
Well,
after
that
your first one.
the first movie was a travesty because
Yeah,
they
it
had
was terrible.
I think they might just be working towards writing that out.
because they changed the editing so many times.
Oh,
No.
the editing.
he's the expert in editing, so
You just slammed the table. The editing.
it's not. I don't think it's the story in general. That's not like the whole idea behind the Suicide Squad is that they do stuff that heroes won't do. Like the governor or Cadmus or whatever gets them to do it, like assassinations and stuff or heist type stuff. But they made this into like a save the world kind of deal, which isn't what they do.
the Suicide Squad's never had like save the world stakes. They just do like.
It was never meant
They
to
do
be
like illegal things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was never meant to be
For
a
the government,
moralizing whatever good guy force.
Yeah.
Or kind of like even a redemption style force. It was just meant for fucking psychos to go out and do psycho shit.
Oh, and another thing, Idris Elba is gonna be, what's his name? Deadshot.
Stringer Bell.
Stringer.
Deadshot.
Oh, Will Smith's not
Will
gonna.
Smith's out.
Okay. They had a joke there about whatever show that Brian likes again.
He's Stringer Bell from The Wire.
Wow.
Okay,
That's
shut
why
up,
he's not.
no. Oh god, one of these days we'll do
I
a
need
Wire
to watch
special.
The Wire. I haven't watched it.
Oh
all.
god, don't even get started. Brian is like the hardcore fan of the
I
the
keep
Wire.
checking on the complete series on Amazon. It's like $100.
He loves to
Is
reenact
it on any
the Wire.
streaming service?
I haven't
It's on
seen it.
HBO, most likely. It's an HBO
Oh,
show.
it's
Hey, if you have HBO,
I don't have.
Yeah,
HBO.
are
it
you
should
gonna get
be.
ready for Game of Thrones.
But if you're to watch it, watch the original. So it's like a 4:3. It has the black bars. It's like
Okay, yeah, that's.
in the 1990s.
Well, yeah, you know what? Yeah, you should take some time, watch The Wire, and then Brian can do a The Wire special. as
We
well.
could. I'm down for. I'm down for doing TV.
Oh,
Wait, you
you-
love The Wire though.
You fucking love The Wire.
You
No,
enjoyed
do.
it.
Well, you'll
I
just-
watch it as a normal show. I don't think about it after. I haven't thought about The Wire for a long time until you.
You never thought about the social economics and the story that they were trying to tell you.
Oh yeah, what's the social economics in the story that they were trying to tell me?
Well,
Let's wait for.
Hey,
him to
no
grab his
thanks,
thesis.
right?
well, basically, in a nutshell,
Please
it's just
God,
like
no, that was so rhetorical.
that was rhetorical? Oh, my, I didn't get that. Then.
You could just make a separate podcast, and
I'll
just
tell
make
you
a
what,
Wire
man.
podcast.
One of these days, maybe for your birthday, we'll let you captain the Wire.
Wow, we'll have to wait for Hassan to watch.
You
so
could,
we
you,
can
could,
have,
you could talk about The Wire and editing.
Actually, we were talking about Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
So there's I forgot there was a character. There's a character that had that bunny in his suit, right?
Well, the.
Like Boomerang or something like that.
Oh
Captain
yeah.
Boomerang.
Yeah, he had a bunny,
bunny?
right? A bunny, like a
Yeah.
stuffed bunny. Like that was like they they had like the character card, and it shows like this Captain Boomerang. He has a bunny.
Yeah.
And so the showing the bunny, that's like they established that idea, and then in the middle of the movie they talked about the bunny again,
Mm-hmm.
and then the third near the end of the movie there's a portion where there's a scene where he gets stabbed, right, by a knife, like, and you would assume like, oh, the bunny saved him, right? But then he like pulls out cash. And so what I'm trying to say is that was really bad editing. Because they're setting up this joke, and then they totally don't even deliver. So then, like, the whole idea, like, what was the point of the bunny?
No, but see, that whole movie was a shit show. So you can't really just say the editing was bad. The whole fucking thing was bad.
Yeah, the whole fucking thing. But that
it wasn't like the movie was great, but that editing fucked it up. The whole movie was bad.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
It's
You fucking got me, man. I totally didn't see this coming. You fucking, oh my god, I got baited in. That was good. I was not expecting that, but now that I look back on it, I'm like, you should have expected something like that. Everything was pointing to him saying something about the editing. Oh my god. Oh Jesus Christ. This has become a thing. In 55 minutes of talk, you and your obsession of editing has now become a thing. Oh Jesus. Okay.
Well, we
Love
better.
of God. Okay.
This podcast better be edited correctly, otherwise we'll be fucked.
Oh yeah, we should totally get Brian to edit.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, you should edit this one. Take it off my hands, eh? All right, done. It's been decided.
How do you feel about my point of view for this? Is we just do 0 edits, and I don't know how you feel about that.
That's what
That's
I
the
actually.
most
That's what the director of Suicide Squad said. Let's do 0 edits.
Zero editing. Well, this one is gonna. Usually, all of them is just. I barely do anything. I just upload it. So yeah, minimal editing. But Brian, you should have a hand.
It gets our 1 hour recording into like 13 minutes.
Just his part. Everybody else is gone. It's just him talking
I
about
have given
editing.
the perfect
Bohemian Rhapsody.
edited show.
He says a joke and then cuts to us laughing.
No, seriously, I can see you doing this.
Easy clap.
I imagine you just cut out all of us talking too, and just have you talk about The Wire. It's not even the episode we recorded. You record a brand new episode.
Yeah. It's like I had to re-record a few bits, but here it is.
Oh my god. All right. Yeah, this will. You know what? This.
It's just gonna be the bits of him last week talking about pie and stuff.
Oh god. Oh my
Rehash
god.
that.
Yeah, actually, I left that one in from the last episode when you talked about pie. Please don't talk about pie again, though.
What did the audience say?
What? No, what? Nothing. There's no audience. No one cares.
The audience is in this room right
So
now.
yeah, if you guys are listening and you want to give your opinions, you could reach us at Twitter or leave comments on YouTube.
I should probably check out.
Actually,
Yeah,
I was watching a stream, and it's because 99 Tetris got really popular,
Yeah, I play it.
right? And so this stream, he's one of the Tetris pro, and he was teaching like how to build better, right? And so the concept of Tetris is you want to build as flat as you can, so you don't want too many variations of height within your building. And so the reason you want to do that is so that your brain can just automatically just drop blocks, so you don't have to think about it. So because like I guess thinking is just a lot of resource, and when you have to make like quick decisions, stuff like that. And as he was teaching, he's like, "Oh, no one's talking in chat," so he was like worried, like if everyone's bored or if everyone's just taking notes, right?
Taking notes, like actually writing.
Brian's taking notes as he watches.
Clearly, people were learning.
That's why. you notice something. You're like, who the fuck would take notes? He would. Brian would. That's why.
But what he was talking about made a lot of sense. Like he was talking about like how he builds and like what are like good pieces to place, and like just how do you make things level, or how to carve things and to get things level and stuff.
You love that shit. I know you love that shit.
It makes sense.
No, I know you love that shit.
Well, like how like when you think of Tetris, it seems like a simple game, but there's like a huge like guide on like how to build and the efficiency and like tricks and stuff.
Okay, so before, what's his name again? Tetris 99, right?
Yeah.
Tetris 99 is the game, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, the game. Okay. Who's the streamer that's really good?
We're gonna shout him out.
Can't remember its name right now.
Whatever. We're not getting anything from it, anyways. So okay, before you watched him stream Tetris 99, did you play Tetris 99 or you had an interest?
Well, I played Tetris in general.
Yeah, like everybody's played Tetris, but did you
Play
get
Tetris
this
99?
interested until after you saw him play, or?
No, like I never played 99, but it's just regular Tetris with 99 players. And
I know, but like you got interested into Tetris again, right?
Oh, what got me interested in Tetris again was the recent tournament for Classic Tetris.
Oh, for
when
Classic Tetris.
this young kid, he beat the 7-year standing champion. He was like 18 or something.
Holy
and it was like
shit.
a huge story.
Oh wait, the champion was 18.
Huge of a story.
No, the champion, he was like 34 or something, or he's in his 30s or 40s.
So it's fair to say he trained his entire life to play Tetris, and a 7-year-old kid just destroyed him.
18-year-old kid, yeah.
Oh, sorry, 18-year-old kid destroyed him.
Yeah, he had this
That's not as impressive then. I thought
Well-
the fucking 7-year-old just destroyed the 34-year-old's.
No, this 18-year-old, he had this really impressive trick. He uses hyper tapping, and then the other guy uses what's called DAS.
Wow.
Like, they're like different strategies.
Such techniques. The evolution of Tetris has produced such gods among us. Isn't that right?
I just play Tetris and I don't look into how to play.
You do.
Yeah, I've never been like, I need a manual for
Yeah,
this.
Tetris 99 is fun though.
But if you want to win in 99, you're facing these
I've
guys,
won.
so you
Yeah.
need to load
I won
the
twice.
tech.
Without any
In
techniques.
Tetris 99?
Yeah.
You won twice.
Yeah.
That's great.
Do you win money or something?
No.
No, but it's like Fortnite, like winning a game in Fortnite in a sense. Like it's not easy.
What do you think about Fortnite? Because Fortnite is very, very popular in comparison to
Has anyone here played
Tetris
it?
99.
No.
What do I think about it?
Yeah, what do you think of it?
It's all right. I think it's
I tried it once.
It's not my game for sure, but
No,
like,
I don't. I'm not a fan.
I think it's a good idea because you're kind of meshing like two big communities, like shooters and Minecraft together.
Was that the one that basically spawned that whole battle royale genre?
No, Battle Royale started with
PUBG.
PUBG.
PUBG, and then
Yeah.
it was okay. So PUBG, and then
Fortnite.
which is
So
more.
Fortnite was initially built as a co-op kind of game where
Yeah.
it's like horde mode basically. So you could build a fortress and you have to defend against like zombie type characters. or
Yeah, I
something.
remember seeing that, but then
They
this
added
got
a mode.
This
to
got it
do Battle
so
Royale.
successful that they should just like fuck it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Battle Royale.
Yep. And
You
now
know-
they're adding more crap to it too.
But what's more popular right now? Like, is it PUBG
Fortnite's
or is it Fortnite?
probably
Fortnite?
way bigger
Fortnite
now.
and Apex Hunters.
Oh yeah, Apex is
Apex
huge.
got huge now too because there's a bunch of players who played Fortnite who didn't like the building aspect,
Oh,
and
like
they
the building aspect.
and they went to Predator or Apex because it's just mostly just shooting.
And
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's actually, from what I read, I haven't tried it yet, but it's really polished.
Yeah,
Like EA
well,
free to
it's
play.
EA, yeah. So
Well,
you have a
it's not
huge,
Really?
huge.
It's an EA game that people actually like.
Yeah, it's free, so it's like people try it.
Okay.
The problem I have with it, I haven't played it again, but it's like PUBG, Fortnite, you could play it just by yourself,
Yeah,
but Apex, you have to be in a team.
you have to be in a team. And is it like pay to play basically if you want to actually be good at the game?
No, it's like all the others. You're dropped into the map with nothing,
Yeah.
and you just pick up whatever equipment.
Okay, how do they make money off of that?
Season pass.
Season passes.
You got
I see.
tournaments probably and stuff like that.
In-game
too.
purchases and all that.
I think
Yeah, you
there's
can
Well,
probably
I'm
buy
saying in-game
skins.
purchases for.
there's like characters. I think.
Yeah, there are characters. I'm not sure if you can buy any, but I'm sure there's skins that you could buy that people go crazy for. Because like Overwatch made it huge with all their skins.
Yeah, but Overwatch is different because the game wasn't free
Yeah,
initially.
but still, it's like they made a lot of money from just selling loot box stuff. It's all cosmetic.
Yes. There's some good ones that I can't wait to play either, but that'll be for another day too. Anything else? Entertainment related. I guess this is the theme that's where we're getting this episode.
Entertainment related.
Or anything. I think we're gonna probably record a bonus after this if you guys got time.
I have something if you don't want to.
Okay, go
You
ahead.
want to entertain? Okay. I was looking at. So apparently in U.S. they have a really high rate of maternity mortality, which is
Yeah.
dying after birth.
Yeah.
and it's 3 times like.
This is entertainment related.
Wait, before, is this for death of the woman or the child?
Death of the woman. They consider it death of a woman after birth within 1 year.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Death of the child's infant mortality.
Yes, that makes sense.
so we're talking about mothers who's given birth and died within the year, and they're saying in U.S. for a developed country their rate is really high.
That's really bad.
It's-
If your infant mortality rate is up and you're also the mother, I forget what the term is, but the survival rate of the mother after giving birth, if that is high, that's pretty bad, because
Yeah.
that's it's a very, very direct indicator of like almost like your healthcare services, and it's kind of an indicator for the health of your country too.
Does that include all factors after
It's
like postpartum depression and all that stuff?
no, it's during the birth, during labor, and then that's what, like if the infant dies or the mother dies, that's where they bring.
Right,
the
but you said up
statistic
to
from.
1 year after the what? Like if
No, within 1 year. Sorry.
within 1 year of the birth of the child.
Yeah, the mother when the mother dies, they count it towards maternity, or was it?
Maternal.
This is a maternal.
Mortality?
What is it?
Yeah,
It's like-
maternal mortality. Yeah.
yeah, and like that. It's they try to make it directly. It's from you die from the childbirth.
Okay.
Yeah. So the company CDC, which is the Center of Disease Control and Prevention, so they were doing a study. So they were doing a study on the 50 states, and they had a graph. So in like 1987, that mortality was at 7%, and in 2014 is 18%, and that's like 3 times higher than Canada.
Okay, so put it into context. Aside from percentage, they usually rate it as in like certain amount of people die within like 1,000 or 100,000 or something like that. So when they say if your infant mortality is like 7 per 100,000 or whatever, like a death rate of a country is usually measured in, if I remember correctly, it was per 100,000. So if you have, what was it, 20 per 100,000? It's bad. I have to see it again, but basically, the U.S. Infant mortality rate and the mother mortality rate is pretty high. It reached like not developed country high. Like this is the kind of high you see in like a lot of South American countries or whatever.
So I'm gonna assume this is just directly tied to healthcare costs.
It is directly not just cost, but infant mortality and the mother mortality rate, like giving birth mortality rate, is a big indicator of your overall health care.
Well, I mean, like costs would cause a lot of people to not want to go to the hospital.
That's one of the factors, but it's also it also points to like the care that you're receiving, and also like just fuck.
Because
how
they
do you
might
say
also
it?
turn down medication and stuff.
Yeah, I guess
It is it is
Because
like
of the cost.
the care that you're receiving up towards the birth. It's also indicative of just like if your hospital is way over your resources are
capacity
stretched
and stuff.
over thin, right? It's a lot of things that matter, because like the prenatal wards are it is a pretty good indicator, because usually if you're giving birth, when you go to, this is quite common, and in a lot of hospitals this is one of the main things that they see a lot of times, right? They have whole wings dedicated to this. It's very common, so you got a lot of data from it. And second, the care that you have to give it is usually some of their best as well, right? Some of it's for a developed country, it's supposed to be something that is very, very well taken care of. You're not supposed to have many mothers die during childbirth. It is a direct indicator of how developed your country is, your healthcare, right? You can't really talk too much about emergency room fucking incidents, because people get stupid, they do whatever, right? Or there's car crashes, whatever. But how you take care of a woman who's going to give birth, and then the result of that, if you're having a high mortality, that is a good indicator of your healthcare is going into the toilet. It's going down. Like, you shouldn't. By all logic, any developed country should not have a spike in infant mortality or the death rate of mothers giving birth.
No, it definitely shouldn't. I mean, if with modern medicine and being the fact that you're a developed country, that should be.
Yeah, it should be low.
It should be low. It should be very low.
It should be, and like.
So the study, they're talking about some of the factors that could be. One of the things they presented was the idea of C-section, right? They were saying that 1/3 of births are done through C-section, and a lot of and a bunch of those C-sections are elective C-section, meaning the mother chooses to have C-sections. So C-sections, for one thing, is more expensive than regular birth, but the other thing is it's more efficient, right? Because when you're giving birth, you have the staff like nurses, midwives, doctors, and they're just kind of waiting for it to happen. So like, the water broke, whatever, they're just in the bed. You're kind of like having these professionals kind of sitting there waiting. Whereas a C-section, you could just get to work, right? You just cut them open, get the baby out. But with C-sections, there's a lot of complication because it's one of the few doctors that actually reoperates the wound, recut the wound. Because like when a mother has a C-section, say for her first kid, if they have any other kid, they tend to have C-section again, just to reduce the complication. But in fact, it's also very complicated because they were saying that when a mother heals from a C-section with the scarring, it's kind of like a crayons or like melting pot kind of thing. So when you're cutting it open again, it's kind of tricky. And then there's complication with like how the placenta kind of like sticks to the C-section and things like that. And so that causes issues with hemorrhage because that's a factor where mothers are dying from is bleeding. And the other one was strokes was the other issue that they're known to die from.
Well, what are you saying? Like they're having too much C-sections in the U.S.?
Mothers are choosing to have C-sections, yeah. So one is
rather than going through the pain of like natural birth,
right?
It would just be like you're going for surgery, right?
And
right.
It's also
here's the thing that is a little bit okay. That makes sense, but the thing is, it doesn't just explain why the U.S.'s death rate is that much higher than a lot of comparative.
Well, I'm sure that's not the sole reason, right?
It's one. No, they don't know exactly the sole reason. There's a lot of factors that they're considering. Like the other thing is like just the resources of a hospital, because when sometimes you could have just limited beds and stuff. That's maybe why they may promote C-sections, and also like for a doctor, when they do a C-section, it's tricky because like okay, if you do a C-section successfully and the baby comes out and say the baby looks healthy, you'd be like, oh, thank goodness we did a C-section. If the baby looked gray and like funky or whatever, they still think the C-section was a good idea, right? Because like clearly it wasn't gonna come out correctly. So there's always this like positive feedback of a C-section in a sense.
Right, but okay, the main thing is, if you're looking at this from the big macro point of view, the U.S.'s rate it's spiked. A lot of these countries don't and it's not like these other countries are not doing C-sections. A lot of countries in Western Europe, Canada, Australia, whatever, developed countries and developing countries, they all more or less they are capable. They do C-sections in the hospital, right? Mm-hmm. They do C-sections in the hospital, but they're like even developing countries, their infant mortality rate is going down. The death rate of their mothers are going down, right?
Because I'm pretty sure in like Canada and England and stuff, they do C-sections as well.
Right.
They do. If there's complications during the birth, they'll be like, yeah, okay, let's do a C-section. It's an option available to doctors, basically, right?
I guess maybe what I'm kind of leading to is perhaps they're promoting C-sections more.
I don't think so. Because if you look at it, like, if you look at what the numbers are telling you, and then what the data, like what the big trends, and you connect them together, it's mostly it's not indicative of one procedure or whatever they're electing to to give that is causing this much of a spike, right? Like, it is something. It is an indicator of the overall system. Like if you are letting women say, here you can give birth by C-section, right? Like, how to me it just seems like it's way too big of a stretch to attribute that much more of a spike of infant mortality rate. Not even mother mortality rate, infant mortality rate as well, right? Like it's I don't know. I think like it's a problem if you know if it's like it's almost like a boutique decision for the mom to just opt for a C-section because she doesn't want to like wreck her body or whatever, right? She doesn't want to stretch it out.
But it could also be the doctor, right? Because like let's say you have
right, but it would be indicative of the country's healthcare as a whole, because like why American doctors are some of the most skilled doctors in the world.
yeah,
right?
and they have the best intentions for sure.
Right. They attract a lot of that, but yet it's you see their healthcare, and not just infant mortality and maternal and pregnant mothers dying, but just across the board, it's not doing that great, right?
But I mean, do you think that it's the doctors aren't pushing it like at all, like because
they could?
It
I'm
would-
saying
it
they
would-
could push it, but
a
I don't
C-
see a big connection. It's like, oh, this is one of the main reasons why your infant mortality rate
Right.
and your your pregnant mothers are dying, and also your life expectancy
no,
itself
but
is going
it
down.
could make sense because if doctors are pushing it, because it would be the more expensive procedure, which would mean that the doctors and the hospitals make more money, which
The thing is, I'm not seeing like doctors are pushing C-sections just to get more of a payout. That's the thing, though.
There is actually another data that kind of supports what Hassan is saying, because they were saying like if you look at holidays,
Yeah.
there's less birth on holidays, and it's almost like they're kind of like choosing the date of when they want to give birth.
Okay.
Like no, seriously, like if we're birth, like because birth is essentially random, right?
Okay.
But there is some data supporting that like on holidays there's just less birth on those days.
Okay, and that's why.
Like because
'Cause they
it's
don't
like
do
if you're planning a
C-sections on
C-section,
those days.
you're
Okay,
not gonna plan it on
yeah.
Christmas.
yeah, because then you can plan around the June and July and August, the holiday months. And
Well, maybe not that
I'll
far.
tell you what. I'll tell you what.
Maybe like
3 months
December
later.
30th.
You know what, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. If you, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say like, if you say, hey, in the U.S. doctors, because I'm not even sure if it's that much of an elective thing. I don't know if you can just say, hey, I want a C-section. Your doctor says yes. I'm not sure that happens. I know in Canada you can't.
you can't do that.
And in the U.S., I'm not sure if that's the case either, right? But if let's just say the case was, hey, C-sections are not that optional. It's not elective anymore. You can't just opt for it. It's not a boutique thing. If we said that, do you think that the U.S. death rate? You think that U.S. death rate would come back to like being on par with those in Canada or the UK? It's quite down. It's a very big stretch to say, oh, it's because of elective C-sections. That's why not even just the birth rate or the maternal death rate, which is already a good indicator of health services, not individual like surgeries, but the average life expectancy of Americans are down too. That has nothing to do with C-sections. Everything that you're looking at is pointing at an overall problem with the system. You can't say. So that's why I'm saying, like, I don't think C-sections, elective C-sections are a problem. Is it the thing that is bringing this down? Is it even a major part of it? I really don't think so.
In terms of the social stuff or socioeconomics, and I think in U.S. They don't have a rule that like pays for maternity leave, right?
Yeah.
And I hear that's an issue because like if mothers have to like work right away after giving birth, that could be a detriment to their health. Like they don't have the proper time to recover.
Oh, definitely, but that's more of a that is more of a quality of life sort of deal, and you're not. It's more people die because they just can't afford the healthcare than it just sucks that you're a maternal mother, you just gave birth. You might not even have that much of a maternity leave depending on who you work for. Yeah, it really sucks that the mother has to go back to do the job and before they even have a well-rested thing, right? But overall, the problems are just much more than that. It's so big. It's much more than it's all of this combined into just this massive shit snowball.
But this could be somewhat of a contributing factor.
Everything is a yeah,
I
'cause it all
it's-
builds into it.
I think it would be a major component. Like, I think they could be the whole money, financial thing as well. I think there's
I don't think so because the majority of doctors in the U.S., especially if you're talking about like, like giving birth, or it's not like if you think about plastic surgeons and stuff like that, even but proper doctors, even like surgeons that are really skilled in the very very difficult surgeries, most of them, they're not doing it only for the money. Like the best surgeons that you can think of, it's fair to say, I think it's fair to say, vast majority of them aren't doing it for the money. The money probably attracted them to stay in the U.S., but to do that profession itself is very demanding, right? Like you got to devote almost all your time and all your energy into this kind of shit. So it is something that they themselves are. It's a conviction almost that they're doing healthcare.
I don't think it's the doctor's issues. Oh, in terms of money, I feel like it's more of the hospital, institution.
It is the
It's
hospital.
also more limited on how many surgeons can perform it rather than like just a natural birth, because you don't need necessarily
Right.
a surgeon for that.
But with natural birth, as I mentioned, it's kind of like you have to wait, right? It's
Yeah.
very inefficient.
But if there's nothing wrong, like doctors are recommending you give birth
Right.
naturally.
It is.
Because if there's nothing wrong, then a natural birth isn't gonna take that long. Like it's not gonna be like 48 hours or something like that.
Right.
Well, from
Like-
my
like-
female coworkers, it feels long.
It feels long, right? And the way we see it in movies and TV shows, like it'll be like, oh, she was in labor for like 40 hours or something like that.
Yeah.
But I don't think in reality a natural birth is like that long all the time. There are probably some cases like that, in which case you could consider, okay, let's do a C-section
Yeah.
instead.
Basically, high infant mortality and death during labor is high in a lot of countries that are just in the shitter, like Somalia. Like that's when you can see in most countries where like the health services are very lacking, those numbers are high. So
Those
it's
are
really
but those are places where most births don't even happen in the hospital. They just
surprising-
happen
yes,
at homes.
exactly.
and
So
stuff.
it's very unusual. That's what it is. It's very unusual, and it should be a big red flag. If you're American and you see infant mortality and mothers giving birth, those numbers, like the death numbers, going up.
Yeah.
I should say or make a point that the deaths aren't always on the operating table or just like having at the hospital. Is a lot of them also happen outside the hospital.
Well,
Like
yeah.
after they took the baby home. And,
well, with
like,
the
bleeding.
C-section, it's possible because after C-section, a woman like can't move for literally a month.
Yeah,
It's like an operation.
And it also it's crazy because you also have to take care of a newborn baby
At
too.
the same time, and they literally are just like, it's recommended, it's mandated pretty much that the woman, if she's had a C-section, she should just literally like pretty much lie in bed for a month.
Yeah,
straight.
you should treat it. Yeah, you should treat it like a major surgery.
Yeah, because it is a
There's-
major
yeah.
surgery. You've just cut open your stomach, basically,
Yeah.
your stomach area to get a human being out
Yeah.
of you.
But then again, I don't know if there is data that is saying like more of these women are dying. The ones that have had C-sections and then had to go back to work early. I don't know. It makes common sense. It makes sense if you think of it that way. But I don't think there's. I'm not sure
But
because I'm not looking at like
you're
I don't
right.
read this stuff, so I don't know if there's definitive
should-
numbers out there.
it
It makes sense though.
For
that could be-
developed, but the bottom line is for a developed country, it shouldn't be that
Shouldn't.
high.
Yeah, that's the big main thing you can actually get out.
It
of this.
can't be 18-20% for what Americans proclaim as the
Whatever
greatest
it is,
country
if
in
it's
the
like,
world.
Yeah, exactly. If it's like,
Like-
20 deaths per thousand moms or whatever, that's pretty bad. I would say.
Yeah, I think even in the data.
I don't know what it is. But
Well,
it is. If that number
it's
is high,
like you were saying earlier, 3 times more than
Canada.
Canada, yeah. So right.
that's pretty bad. If it was 3 times more than Canada, then that's already pretty bad. Like
I think it's like 6 times more than Scandinavia.
it's
And all these like the technology and knowledge of the actual surgeons and everything should be quite
it's
comparable.
quite big high because of the U.S. There's kind of a very weird contradiction. All that money that they spend on healthcare goes to something. They have some really advanced if you go to a really high-end hospital, if you think about like the hospitals or the doctors that are really high-end that use the best technology, like the Da Vinci robot, like surgery robot, like the U.S. has some of the really high-tech shit.
Yeah,
right?
you got robots that could stitch a grape.
Yeah, exactly. There's no. It's not like they're having a deficiency of high-tech, life-saving medical equipment. Per se, like they do have a shortage of a lot of things. It's just that there's a huge divide even in healthcare in the U.S. Like you can get excellent, like top of the line care, or you can just die from giving birth, right? It's really it's
Is the birth rate
quite
also
a problem.
comparable between all these countries?
Yeah. If you take away immigration, yeah, the birth. You'd get similar births.
Like, there's not just a
citizen
sudden
births.
spike in Americans. And,
It's
Americans having kids.
yeah. Well, compared to other
You
countries,
don't-
that is.
It's,
No,
it's
I
also
think
by
I think they're
demographics too.
decreasing. If anything.
In the U.S., Latinos, Black, their birth rates are much higher than, let's just say, the demographic white person.
Oh, I see.
Right?
So
White Asian is usually lower, and it's not split among. Okay, the reason it's split among ethnic lines in the U.S. a little bit more prominently is because the ethnic lines are usually line up with your income, basically, right? So if you're comparing to normally in a country, it's usually the lower income people. They have a higher birth rate usually than middle income, maybe higher income people, right? But in the U.S., it's because it's the ethnic lines are a little bit more actually set into these classes. You kind of see it by ethnicity. These people give more birth. These people give more, and then it also has to do with religion as well. Catholics, Muslims usually have a higher birth rate than, whatever, Protestant, Asian, whatever. So
I find it kind of surprising how 4 guys without any kids have spent such a long time on the topic of childbirth.
And that's verbal action.
So for a summary, there's data that shows that.
I was asking if you had anything
about entertainment.
I was thinking.
That's what I was thinking.
Like, how did we
this
get
whole
into
time.
this?
I was
Yeah, now I'm like, this is some fucked up shit.
That's his entertainment.
Jesus Christ.
Actually, as a segue to we're talking about birth.
Okay, sure. We're gonna say you can save it for the bonus too. We're an hour 27.
Okay, yeah,
No,
let's
but
bonus it.
if you're gonna say something about birth though.
Oh well, it's about abortion. I was gonna.
Oh,
Oh,
cool.
shit.
A light topic.
that's only a couple.
Well,
Okay,
my
do
opinion
it. Go
is
on, do it.
my opinion
What?
is it doesn't make sense that men has a say in abortion, like that
Okay.
we should be involved because it's like how like they spin it about like choice versus life. But I feel like it's men trying to control women. Like when we talk about like abortion not being legal, right?
Right, but okay.
Like
so-
one is I don't think men should be involved in the conversation. Like we shouldn't have a right to vote.
You
for that
definitely
topic.
be, if you're in America and increasingly in Canada for some fucked up reason, you'd be the pro-choice guy, right? That
Yeah,
is
well, I
the
would be
argument.
pro-choice, but I don't. But again, it's not about choice in life. Like it can be if the women talked among themselves and said that is what it is.
Yeah.
But I feel like because men is involved, it became this choice versus life thing.
It wasn't because men was involved. The main thing with this was religion.
religion, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I
feel like
Alright,
this
so
this,
we're
this
done
thing
with
with men is
what do you mean if men are involved? Like,
Well,
it-
make
it-
decisions for the
we shouldn't be
girl, I
able
think.
to talk about, or we shouldn't be able to tell them
Like,
whether
You're not-
they're allowed to have a
You're
abortion.
not 100% wrong that like some of this is coming
Yeah,
from
it's
men.
more so
but
men
the-
should have a voice, but
Yeah.
they don't get the final say.
Yeah,
Right.
but more so
why should we even have a voice?
because
the man was part of the.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's the
it's
saying
part
is
of
like the
making.
man should not have like zero voice because if you're the dad, it's the same. You're
What
the
if
dad,
he
you're the
wants to
mom,
be a
right?
father and the woman is like, no, I don't want to have this child, and he wants to have the child.
And
that's a valid conversation
Right.
to have.
And think
That's a
about,
valid conversation.
Yeah, and think
yes.
about the logic as well. Like, if there was some big emergency, the wife's unconscious, the baby, both of their lives are in danger. The doctor, you can't ask the dad.
yeah.
Like if there was a choice, whatever. Like they want to say both, but if they had to face a really morbid choice, the doctor they would go to the dad to ask
Right.
at that point, right? So then, like, so that's just to say the father does have some say into it, and especially if the mother's like incapacitated, like there is something in there. They can't.
Right.
It's not really zero.
But I think I'm talking more about laws, when we make laws about abortion,
Right.
whether they're legal or not. Like, for men to vote on that, I don't think that makes sense.
That's usually though it's not because they're not saying if men can vote on it. It's whether you can even get an abortion or not. That's usually the big controversy between like pro-choice and pro-life. Pro-life, especially the ones that are religious, they argue that once you're conceived with child, that's a life already. That counts as a life. That's a very big conservative argument. Whereas like if you abort, that's like killing a baby, right? That's why they call them people. When they protest in front of like the abortion clinics, they calling people baby killers and stuff,
Right.
and showing really ugly pictures, right? It's the big controversy is usually not whether the men can decide more. It's usually whether they can have an abortion or not. And then there's like a sub controversy of like the women's are just saying this is another patriarchal thing where men are deciding what women can do with their bodies and stuff like that, which is like what
I'm saying, yeah.
Yeah, what you're saying.
Well, I kind of compare it to monogamy too. Right.
How so?
Let's get into it.
All right. So monogamy, basically, if you think about it, back in the day when you're a farmer and you have a wife and stuff and you have kids,
Yeah.
right? And you have assets, you have cows and stuff, and you want to pass it to your kids. Well, you need a way to tell that those are your kids for sure.
Yeah.
And science at that time, you couldn't tell your DNA. So you would what would you do? You create a thing called monogamy to say like, hey, you're not allowed to sleep with anyone else but
It's
me.
basically it is a question of succession. Like
Right.
you have no way of telling, like you want to pass down your property, and the only way to tell if those are your kids that you want to pass down to is if you
If they were monogamous.
one wife. Yeah,
But
yeah.
like we know from history, men were not monogamous, even though they were, right? Like kings, especially.
Kings are not the majority of people, right? If you're petrified on the land,
They're very-
you're basically.
I'm not saying kings are the ones that we're modeling, but like a lot of men, like men cheating is an accepted thing, whereas when women cheat, they get beheaded, right? So monogamy was a very one-sided thing that was used to control women, in my view.
It is. It was very much something that was very skewed for the men. It has to do with not just, but the other question that comes in mind. Okay, so how did men get so much power and say over all this shit, right? And then why aren't people's last names named after women? Like why can't it be the women that fucking decides who gets the succession or
Well,
whatever?
well, if we were looking at history, probably because they don't own property. Like,
But
they
why
don't
don't
have-
they own property?
yeah, I don't know why they
Let's
don't.
keep going further back.
Well,
But why? But why? But why?
There's a whole big thing about it, but the gist of it is it has to do with like how you produce things. Back then, labor is very physical. It's very very dependent on your physical strength, and on average, the men toil in the fields. Their body is a lot.
Well,
It
most
is
of
a
the
lot
jobs
strong.
back then were
It's a lot
based on
stronger.
physical.
You're valuing men just based on the labor, just based on the material labor of that time period.
That was I guess
Right.
there's that stereotype that women were family.
In a more advanced society, once your society advances where your manual labor is not that much input, that's when you will see like women can begin to either fight for their rights or they get more rights. They either struggle for it, but they get it. But it has to be that manual input of labor has to go down enough so like a woman and man can kind of do the same job. There's not going to be something like fucking manual work on average, which favors is difficult on average for a lot of women.
Do you feel like abortion is a women's right?
I definitely do. I fucking like it. It's a complex thing where it's like the family should decide on it, definitely. But if it comes down to like, the woman still has the final say of that. But it's not like the man's. It's not like the dad has no zero say. But the woman, I definitely feel like it has say. It's
Well-
because abortions. There is a risk to it too.
There's a risk for it, yeah, for sure.
There
But
is
there's
for-
also a risk to.
And the woman, I think the woman on it, most of the time, is the woman that carries quite a bit of the, not just the physical scars.
Regardless, the woman's gonna take the impact, right? If,
Yeah, it's-
once you get the abortion
It
or
is
have
her,
the kid.
her body, and you know, if you take religion and shit out of it, you know, that's what you're just looking at. What are you gonna do?
Because like if we flip the table, let's say a man can decide whether a woman could have an abortion.
Mm-hmm.
Cheating could be rampantly crazy because you could cheat, they could be pregnant and be like, oh, you gotta get an abortion because I told you so.
Well,
Yeah, but we don't live in a world like that now.
It's
In
cheating.
this-
But if that was, but I mean,
you're not
flipping the
cheating just because of your abortion laws, though, right?
But if that was the world we live in, people are definitely gonna fight for abortion, like the abortion being for women to decide.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
like, the voice, the final say, da da da.
I can,
like the
yeah,
input.
okay, sure. Like if you're, if
If
you want
we
to
were
sleep around,
living
you
in
don't want to
that
pay
ex-
child support. Yeah, fucking, you got the power to decide if they abort it. Yeah, I can see some asshole just be like, yeah, fucking abort it. Yeah, of course I sign it. Yeah, but that's not the big controversy. That's not the big controversy here, though. No one's fighting for the dick's right to be like, yeah, so kill that unborn child so I can go and fuck more people.
So many
No,
things
it's-
wrong with this.
The
right
reason
now.
why it's so big is because there is a big conservative reactionary religious aspect to it, and that's basically what's
But
driving it most.
in the religious voice, is
Hmm.
it a guy saying it?
What do you mean if it's guys
It's
saying it?
the
It's just
religion.
the religion
It's-
saying it. Like, like if,
Like life is sacred kind of thing. You know?
Like it's not a man or a woman saying it. It's just saying in some religions where they say that once the child is conceived or once the conception takes place, then that's a life.
But
like,
with but with religion, like
here, save the religion talk for the bonus, because we're gonna go back to that in a bit. All right. Anyways, this has been Verbal Laxative with Simpson,
Jason,
Hassan.
Brian.
and look forward to the bonus this week.
like, comment, subscribe.
Yeah,
Thanks.
like, comment,
Yeah,
and subscribe.
like, comment.
Verbal Laxative. We all love you guys. All one of you that listens to this. All right. Take care.